It's actually incredibly ironic.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, we've spent, the last few years just massively upgrading the physical tools we use to talk to each other.
Right.
We have like gigabit internet pushing data at the speed of light, active noise canceling headsets that block out literally everything.
Right. 4K webcams.
Yeah, webcams so sharp they show every single tired pore on our faces. We have never possessed more crystalline, high-definition tech for transmitting a signal.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, how often do you, and I mean you, the listener, right now, how often do you close your laptop, step away from a complex Slack thread, and just think, they have absolutely no idea what I just meant?
Yeah, it's a daily occurrence for most people because we mistake clarity of audio for clarity of meaning.
Exactly.
We've optimized the hardware to this extreme degree, but we've completely neglected the psychology of it. A 4K camera does not, prevent someone from totally misinterpreting your tone.
And that disconnect is exactly what we are tackling today. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at this brilliant presentation titled Mastering Communication in a Noisy World by Timur Zulfikar.
He's an educational planning scholar and learning and development coordinator, for some context.
Right. And the mission for this deep dive is, well, to act as your personal communication coaches.
Yeah, we really want to give you a specific playbook to navigate the frankly maddening psychological challenges of daily life.
Especially when you're managing remote relationships or, navigating a distributed team from your home office.
Right, because Zulfikar starts by demanding this fundamental paradigm shift in how we even define communicating.
It's not just sending an email.
No, not at all. Most of us operate on this simple transmission model, right? I sent the data from point A to point B.
I wrote the Slack message, I hit send, my job is done.
Exactly. But Zulfikar argues that the real goal has to be achieving what he calls genuine shared perception.
Genuine shared perception. Okay, let's map out the mechanics of that. What does that actually look like when it's happening, say, in a digital workspace?
It's basically cognitive alignment. It happens when two individuals manage to construct the exact same understanding of reality at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the receiver isn't just parsing your vocabulary. They are visualizing the identical priority, context, and emotional weight that you hold in your head.
Which is incredibly difficult to achieve.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
But he points out this terrifying reality. Professional failures, like the completely blown projects, missed quarterly goals, team meltdowns.
Stuff that keeps us awake at night.
Right. They almost never stem from a sudden lack of talent or like a lack of software. They almost always originate from a breakdown in that shared perception.
Because the cost of misinterpretation isn't just, a delayed document. In a remote environment where you literally cannot see someone's body language at their desk, a lack of shared perception creates a vacuum.
And human nature dictates that we fill that vacuum by assuming bad intent.
Exactly. It leads to this insidious erosion of trust.
Which brings us to the playbook. How do you actually construct this shared reality?
Right. What are the steps?
Well, Zulfikar outlines 5 foundational channels of communication. 4 of them are exactly what you'd expect.
Verbal, so the actual spoken words.
Nonverbal, meaning your body language and intonation. Written, so the endless stream of messages and emails.
And in visual, like a data chart or a slide deck.
Right. But the 5th channel is where the coaching really begins. The 5th channel is listening.
Okay, framing listening as an active channel of communication rather than just, the passive reception of the other 4, that changes the entire dynamic.
It really does. It means listening is an active, deliberate choice. It's the ultimate feedback loop.
So when I'm listening, I'm actually transmitting.
Yes. When you're truly listening, you're actively transmitting data back to the other person. You're communicating that their reality holds value.
So in a video meeting, your focused silence, your nods, your eye contact, that is an active broadcast that says, I am participating in the creation of our shared perception.
Exactly. You're not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Okay, so if listening is the baseline requirement, we still need a framework for what we are actually putting into those other channels.
Right, the actual content.
Zulfikar provides what he calls the 7 C's of communication. It's basically a structural checklist.
Clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous.
But I want to pause here because if we just, read these off as a list, it sounds like an elementary school poster.
Right, be polite and use good grammar.
Exactly. The real value is looking at the friction these solve in the home office. For instance, let's look at correct. The listener already knows they shouldn't send emails riddled with typos.
You'd hope so.
So why is it a core pillar of high-level communication?
Because correctness isn't about appeasing the grammar police. It is all about cognitive load.
Cognitive load.
Yeah. When you send a message with poor grammar or missing punctuation or inaccurate data, you are forcing the recipient's brain to stop, backtrack, and manually parse what you meant.
You introduce friction.
Exactly. Every single time their brain has to decode an error, the flow of shared perception fractures.
It's a distraction from the actual intent of the message.
And if you layer that friction over, say, dozens of interactions a day, you just exhaust your colleagues.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I imagine the same applies to coherent.
Oh, definitely. If point B doesn't logically follow point A in your project update, the reader has to expend their own mental energy building a bridge between your scattered thoughts.
You're offloading your work onto their cognitive bandwidth.
Exactly.
Okay, but I'm going to push back on two of the other C's here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because this is where I constantly hit a wall in my own daily life. Zulfikar tells us we need to be concise, which means keeping it short and stripping out the fluff. But he also insists we must be complete and concrete, meaning we have to provide all the necessary specific details. How do you reconcile those? I mean, when I'm rapid-firing messages on Slack between back-to-back meetings, being concise and being complete feel mutually exclusive.
It definitely feels like a paradox on the surface.
Yeah.
But this is where the nuance of a coaching framework really matters.
Okay, unpack that for me.
The friction you're feeling comes from conflating short with incomplete.
Ah.
Being concise does not mean amputating vital information just to save a sentence. It means ruthlessly eliminating unnecessary information.
So it's about efficiency, not just length.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you balance it by understanding what Zulfikar means by concrete, which he defines as clear, not fuzzy.
Clear, not fuzzy. Okay.
Yeah, you can deliver a highly detailed, complete set of instructions without adding a single fuzzy paragraph of fluff.
Give me an example of a fuzzy message.
Okay, a fuzzy, incomplete message might read, hey, can you shoot me that marketing report later when things slow down?
I have sent that exact message.
We all have. And it's certainly short. It takes 2 seconds to type. But it is catastrophic communication.
Because it leaves like a dozen open loops. Which marketing report? What time is later? Who defines when things slow down?
Exactly. It forces the recipient to guess your reality. Now, look at a message that balances those competing C's.
Okay.
Hi, David. Please attach the Q3 European marketing report in this thread by 4 p.m. today so I can review it before the client call. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, that is incredibly concise.
There are 0 wasted syllables.
Yet it's entirely concrete and complete. You provided the exact utility needed.
Right.
Okay, let's take this to the next level. Let's say I run the perfect play. I balance the 7 C's. My message is coherent. It minimizes cognitive load. It's courteous, concrete, and complete.
The perfect message.
I hit send. And the coworker replies with immense defensiveness.
Oh.
Or my partner reads it and gets visibly upset over a perfectly neutral, well-constructed sentence. What broke? Because mechanically, the message was flawless.
This is the turning point. If the architecture of the message was sound and the communication still triggered a breakdown, you have left the realm of mechanics and entered the psychology of the exchange.
Okay.
And this is where Zulfikar introduces the most critical tool in the entire presentation: transactional analysis.
Transactional analysis, that sounds like a pretty heavy psychological concept.
It was developed by a psychiatrist named Eric Berne back in the 1950s, but it is profoundly practical for daily life.
How so?
Berne theorized that interpersonal communication is rarely just an exchange of objective data. It is an exchange driven by underlying psychological states.
Okay, so it's not just about the words.
Right. He argued that every person carries 3 distinct ego states within them. And every time you communicate, you are unknowingly shifting between these states.
And Zulfikar lists these out as the parent, the child, and the adult.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I contextualize this, because it really helped me grasp the mechanics of it, is imagining that we're all walking around our daily lives with 3 completely different digital avatars we can log into.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you have your parent avatar, your child avatar, and your adult avatar. It's like logging into different user accounts on the exact same computer.
That's a phenomenal way to ground the concept.
Because depending on which account you're logged into, you have completely different permissions, different user interfaces, and different reactions to the exact same data.
Exactly. Let's look at the permissions of those avatars, starting with the parent ego state.
Okay.
Zulfikar defines this as Behaviors, thoughts, and feelings copied directly from our parents or authority figures.
It's the internalized voice of should and must.
Yes. When you log into the parent avatar, you are operating from a place of deeply ingrained rules.
Right.
Now, it can be a nurturing, protective state, absolutely, but in a professional context, it often manifests as a highly critical, judgmental, and authoritative posture.
So you aren't analyzing a situation, you're just imposing a learned rule upon it.
Exactly. Then you have the child ego state. And the source makes it clear this isn't about just acting silly or, being derogatory.
Right. It's defined as behaviors, thoughts, and feelings replayed from our own literal childhood.
Yeah. When you are in the child state, your permissions for rational, objective thought are heavily restricted by your emotional memory.
Interesting.
This state houses your spontaneous creativity and joy, sure, but it also houses your learned defensive reactions to authority.
So if you log into the child avatar at work, you might exhibit sulking, irrational rebellion, or conversely, an intense, submissive need to please an authority figure out of fear.
Spot on. Which leaves the adult ego state. This is defined as behaviors and thoughts that are a direct response to the here and now.
The here and now. So the adult state is the only avatar with full admin access to present reality.
I love the admin access analogy.
Yes.
It evaluates the data directly in front of it right this second, without filtering it through the emotional baggage of a 6-year-old or the rigid inherited dogmas of a parent.
It's objective, logical, unclouded.
Right. So transactional analysis maps out what happens when my current avatar interacts with your current avatar.
And Zulfikar calls these interactions transactions, categorizing them into 3 distinct types.
Yes.
Let's look at the first one, the complementary transaction.
A complementary transaction occurs when the lines of communication between the ego states are parallel.
Parallel lines.
Meaning, if I speak to you from my adult state, aiming my message at your adult state, and you respond from your adult state back to mine, the sender and receiver are perfectly aligned.
Well, that seems like the ultimate goal. 2 logical adults processing the here and now.
It is the goal for a functional workspace, but Zulfikar explicitly warns that complementary does not automatically mean healthy.
Wait, really? If parallel means the communication flows smoothly, how does that become toxic in a remote work environment?
Okay, imagine a scenario where a manager calls a remote employee. The manager logs into a highly critical parent state, aiming directly at the employee's child state.
Okay, so a downward angle.
Right. They say, you completely disorganized the shared drive again. Why do you constantly ignore the filing protocols?
It's an authoritative scolding.
Now, imagine the employee responds from their terrified child state, aiming back up at the nurturing or authoritative parent.
Oh, I see where this is going.
They reply, I am so sorry. I'm just so overwhelmed. Please don't be angry. I'll work all weekend to fix it.
The lines are perfectly parallel, parent to child, child to parent.
And the transaction is completed without a sudden clash. It is complementary.
Yeah.
But it relies on a dynamic of fear and submission that will absolutely hollow out the trust in that relationship over time.
Wow, so it's a stable transaction, but a deeply unhealthy environment.
Exactly.
That reframes the whole concept for me. Stability isn't the same as shared perception.
No, it's not.
Okay, so what happens when the lines aren't parallel? This brings us to the second type, the cross transaction.
Yes.
And this is the one that I suspect is responsible for nearly every sudden argument in our daily lives.
You'd be right. Cross-transactions happen when the ego state of the sender does not reach the intended ego state of the respondent.
So the wires cross.
Exactly. The recipient intercepts the message with a completely different avatar and fires back in a conflicting direction.
Let's ground this in a really common daily scenario.
Right.
Let's say you're at your kitchen counter, working remotely. You need to verify a timeline with your partner who is also working, or maybe a coworker over Slack.
Okay.
You intentionally log into your adult avatar. You aim a completely rational 7C compliant message at their adult avatar. You say, hey, when do you think you will have the final edits done for the Friday launch?
Which is an objective request for data in the here and now.
Right, but they don't receive it in their adult state. Maybe they've been stressed all day. Their child avatar intercepts the message, interpreting your simple question as a scolding from an authority figure. So they snap back, why are you constantly nagging me about my timeline? I'll get it done when I get it done.
Right. You send adult to adult. They fire back child to parent. If you map it out, the lines literally intersect.
Yeah.
And Zulfikar's absolute rule for this scenario is stark. In a cross-transaction, communication breaks down entirely.
But And here's where I have to challenge the theory. As a coach, telling someone to just fix it isn't helpful.
Fair.
Zulfikar says that to restore communication, one person must consciously shift their ego state. But in the real world, when someone suddenly snaps at me and accuses me of nagging, my biological heart rate
Oh,
spikes.
of course.
I'm flooded with adrenaline. My immediate instinct is to jump into my own angry child avatar and yell back. How is a person supposed to logically execute an avatar switch when they are biologically triggered?
That is the core difficulty of mastering this. You are fighting biology.
Right.
When your heart rate spikes, your brain defaults to its most entrenched emotional states, the parent or the child. The coaching mechanism to overcome this isn't to somehow suppress the adrenaline.
Right.
It's to use cognitive labeling to buy yourself a 3-second window.
Cognitive labeling.
Yes, when they snap at you, instead of engaging with the content of their words, the accusation of nagging, you force your brain to identify their avatar. You mentally say, okay, that is the child state reacting. Just the act of labeling it engages your prefrontal cortex.
Which keeps you logical.
Right, it forces you to maintain your adult permissions. You realize they aren't actually attacking you. Their child avatar is reacting to a phantom parent.
So by recognizing their state, you prevent yourself from taking the bait.
Exactly. You hold your ground in the adult state, or you might temporarily shift into a calming parent state to de-escalate.
Like saying, I know the timeline is tight. I'm not trying to rush your process. I just need to block out my afternoon.
Exactly. You deliberately uncross the wires by refusing to engage in the chaotic avatar dance they just initiated.
That requires immense self-awareness. But, cross transactions, as explosive as they are at least obvious.
True.
You know the wires cross because there's immediate yelling or conflict. What about the interactions that don't result in a fight, but leave you feeling manipulated, drained, or strangely guilty, even though every word spoken was perfectly polite?
Oh man, you are describing the third and most dangerous category, the duplex, or ulterior transaction.
The hidden trap.
It is the hidden trap in human interaction.
How does an ulterior transaction operate?
It operates on 2 layers simultaneously.
Okay.
The sender delivers an outward, explicit message that is disguised to look like adult-to-adult communication. It sounds factual and polite, but hidden underneath those words is a secondary, implicit message being fired from their parent or child state aimed directly at your vulnerabilities.
It's like a Trojan horse.
Exactly like that.
Let's look at how this plays out on a remote team. Imagine you're on a team video call and a colleague casually mentions, oh, I noticed your status was set to away for about 2 hours during the middle of the day yesterday.
A classic duplex setup. Let's dissect the layers of that.
Okay, so on the surface, the explicit layer is completely adult. It is a mere observation of a chronological fact. You were offline for 2 hours.
Right. But the psychological payload is in the implicit layer. That hidden message is coming from a deeply critical parent avatar, aiming a laser at your insecure child avatar.
So the real message is, you are slacking off. You are not committed to the team. I am monitoring your productivity and finding you lacking.
Exactly. And the truly insidious nature of a duplex transaction is that it provides the sender with complete plausible deniability.
Oh, of course.
If you feel that implicit strike and your child avatar gets defensive, if you say, I was reviewing a printed manuscript, I wasn't watching TV, they can instantly retreat to the explicit adult layer.
They put their hands up and say, whoa, why are you getting so defensive? I was just stating a fact about the software.
Yes, they gaslight you using the mechanics of the conversation. And Zulfikar points out that while some people use duplex transactions consciously to manipulate office politics, very often people do it entirely unconsciously.
Without even knowing it.
Right? Their inner critical parent is passing judgment without their adult brain even realizing it.
Okay, so as we pull all of these sources together, what is the ultimate action point here? I mean, we understand the necessity of shared perception. We have the 7 C's to reduce cognitive load. We have the transactional analysis mapping out our parent, child, and adult avatars. How does the listener synthesize this into a tool they can use the moment this deep dive ends?
The synthesis is becoming a real-time decoder of the matrix.
I like that.
If the goal is genuine shared perception, you cannot just listen to the vocabulary someone uses. You have to actively identify which avatar is generating that vocabulary.
You listen for the psychology, not just the grammar.
Precisely. When you develop the skill to spot an ulterior transaction in real time, it loses its power to manipulate you.
Right.
When your coworker mentions you were away for 2 hours, you recognize the hidden parent strike. And instead of reacting from your defensive child, you choose to only validate the adult surface message.
So you just calmly reply, yes, I was offline for a bit.
Exactly. You starve the hidden message of the emotional reaction it was seeking. You maintain control of your reality.
It transforms communication from this unpredictable weather system that just happens to you into a manageable, navigable framework.
It really does.
To summarize the coaching session for you, the listener, if you want to stop just transmitting noise into the void and actually connect, you need the structural discipline of the 7 Cs to ensure your message is mechanically clear and concrete.
Hmm.
But more importantly, you need the psychological awareness to recognize the avatars in the room.
And I'll leave you with a final provocative challenge to test that awareness today.
All right, let's hear it.
Think about a recurring, frustrating conflict you have, maybe with a family member in your house, or a specific colleague on your team. A conversation where you feel utterly convinced that you are the only one speaking as a rational, logical adult.
Oh, we all have one of those.
Right. Well, the next time that exact friction arises, I want you to turn the analytical lens inward. Examine your own biological reactions. Is it possible that your critical parent or your defensive child secretly hijacked the microphone and you just never noticed the switch?
Wow. That is a mirror that is very uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary to look into. Because having the fastest internet and the sharpest webcam in the world doesn't mean a thing if the wrong avatar is sitting at the keyboard.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take this playbook, log into your adult avatar, and go take control of your next conversation.